tide turning for India's office market? Well, with more than 75% of employees of large office occupiers now fully vaccinated, are people returning to physical workspaces? This is an important question to address on the Property Show. We now have 3 REITs or real estate investment trusts listed on the Indian stock market. The fortunes of these REITs and our decision to invest in them rests on the outlook for India's office real estate. Joining me for this answer, Mike Holland, CEO of India's first and largest listed REIT, Embassy Office Parks. Also with us, Anshul Jain, MD, India and South Asia at Cushman & Wakefield, and Abhishek Kiran Gupta, CEO of CRE Matrix, whose data will also give us a lot of important insights. So Mike, we saw the numbers of Embassy Office Park, strong rental collections of 99%. But on the ground, tell us what's happening. I mean, last we spoke, you said about 10% people are back on campuses. What's the number now?
Yeah, so that number today is probably closer to 15% and rising rapidly. Before Diwali, we were seeing approximately 20,000 people on our business parks. That number today or yesterday actually was about 25,000. So that's up 25% over the last month or so. And we're hearing absolute unequivocal yes. People are coming back, companies are moving back, senior management are coming back to the office to set an example for their people. In cities like Bombay, we're seeing over 50% in Express Towers and our 247 property. Some of our business parks in Bangalore are at a lower level, but the average across the portfolio today is about 15%. We expect that to go up to perhaps 26% by the end of the year.
That's encouraging. So, Anshul, my question to you is that, everyone's still scratching their heads on what the future of work is going to look like. Because on the one side, you have Mike telling us that more and more people are coming back to campus. Leaders are saying unequivocally that we are going to bring our people back to campus. Then you have TCS announcing a 25-25 vision, saying employees will be spending only 25% of their time in physical offices by 2025. In US, people are resisting returning to office. So tons of confusion in people's mind. Where is it all going to rest? And what does it mean for India's office market?
So I think fundamentally the use of office is changing and has changed very rapidly. So most of the post-COVID thought processes, office is just for socialization, collaboration, teamwork. It's activity-based working. So if you have a team meeting, you come to office. If you have a client meeting for which office is required, you come to office. And that's really what life is going to be. And therefore, flexibility is going to get worked in the work plan. We expect no more than 50 to 60% of any individual time spent in actual office as we sort of go forward. But that itself is going to be pretty massive from an office utilization perspective. What I'm saying is that the office utilization is not going to drop, but the use of office is going to change into much more hospitality, collaboration, teamwork. And it's a common theme we're seeing across the world and in India.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll come back to you. Abhishek, I'm looking at the numbers that have come to us from CRE Matrix. So vacancies for offices, of course, for the listed REIT companies are not more than 11%. But if I take the average across top 6 cities, it's still at 16%. Is it the highest it's ever been? And do you believe, looking at the numbers and the pickup that you've seen in the last quarter, that we are actually turning around when it comes to occupancy?
Okay, so let me start with the first bit first. 16% today. The peak that India has seen was 18% in the global financial crisis, 2009 and 2010. Please remember that real estate commercial is also a cyclical business. The first peak was in 2007, which is what we used to call the golden period then, the previous decade. Then, of course, since 2010 and 11, structurally the vacancy has only gone down till COVID came as a dampener, right? And COVID did see vacancy rise to a peak of about 17, so still lower than 18% of GFC. Currently, it's at 16. So we believe the COVID-led vacancy has been maxed out. It's now going to be plateauing. Therefore, completely agree with Mike that yes, as and when more and more corporates ask their employees to return back to offices, We're going to see that. Plus, if you notice, ITES, co-working, we've seen some phenomenal leases last 2 years actually, 2020 and 2021, where co-working picked up considerable space within the Grade A office commercial sector.
All right. Okay, you refer to Mike, so let me toss back to him. So Mike, as a country, I think we've long enjoyed being the go-to destination for global corporations to set up their captive services, isn't it? And it dropped during COVID. Again, we started beginning to hear the chatter with this entire wave of 5G, AI, IoT, that, about 40 to 50 new companies, financial institutions are lining up plans to expand into India. So my question to you is, then why are we going to end this year only at 38 million square feet of leasing? And when do we push that 60 million plus number? Because you must have worked that in your business plan.
So, Manisha, only 38 million square feet. Just think about that. That is probably, and Anshul would be a better expert than me on this, but that is probably more than perhaps any country apart from the US in the world in terms of annual absorption. The fact that at a gross level, 2019 was a record number at 60 odd million square feet is an exception. I think we can get back to perhaps the last 5-year pre-COVID average pretty quickly. I think it's something that you're also seeing reduction in supply as people shelve projects and so on. So, we also, going back to Abhishek's point about vacancies, he'll acknowledge that vacancies are extreme in different markets. So Bangalore has a single-digit vacancy, which has moved up from 4%, perhaps up to, I think, around 9%. But then you look at specific properties within those markets, and you'll see higher and lower vacancies within those cities. So underneath that 16% that you spoke about at a macro level, there's a lot of detail and variation in that. So, we'll take only 38 million square feet this year, and that'll be fine. Yeah. We're certainly feeling that there's a very significant pressure building up for new space. There's RFPs are out there that we're aware of 25, 26 million square feet. That's phenomenal.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, I would agree on the RFPs. Okay, go ahead, Anshul, add to that. On the RFPs which are floating in the market, there is a chatter around that. And, even ICICI Securities is talking about it because now you have 3 listed REITs. So there are lots of, analysts also clued into the sector. Take it from there in terms of how much do you think will fructify, looking at the fact that you said 50% are the number of people who are likely to come back and probably never 100%.
So first of all, just a very quick point on last year or this year. This year we'll end up working 9 months a year. So let's put that in perspective, right? So if you kind of calculate 38 million on 9 months, maybe not fully, you'll get a closer number to 50 plus million square foot, definitely, right? Number 2, RFPs, Mike says 25, our calculation says 36 to 37 million square foot of RFP. As I said, offices are not going to be used only for people coming back with the desk. So, you're probably not going to see rows and rows and rows of desks going forward. But the kind of demand that we're seeing is of similar level that existed in the past, but maybe for a lot less desks. It's not just about de-densification. It's again about how do you actually use an office? Is it a hospitality space? Is that a collaboration space, team space, and all of that I've said. So from an aggregate perspective, I think demand is up. The number of 500,000 to 1 million square foot type demand that we are seeing at this point in time is huge. Flex has obviously done well, as pointed out earlier. Flex is up from 9,000 seats per quarter to almost 14,000 seats per quarter this year. So 9,000 seats per quarter last year to about 14,000 seats per quarter this year. Okay. And as the markets, when the markets are a little tough, from money is a little tough, people are looking for flex for a solution of capital, for CapEx and design, and experience. So
Mike?
a lot of things are changing in this market.
Okay,
Sorry.
but you remain positive. Sorry, I'm going to quickly toss around because this is the thought which has come into my mind as you were speaking. Mike, any large occupiers or enterprise clients of yours who have surrendered space in lieu of flexible workspaces? Because that's the point that Abhishek also mentioned. And is that the worry on your mind that, that's going to be a struggle for large office occupiers such as you? Or maybe competition, direct competition?
No, absolutely not. So the first question, am I aware of any existing tenants who've surrendered space to go to flex? No, I'm not aware of any in our portfolio. There may be, but I can't recollect any. We have always had a policy of having a top tier co-working flex space operator in our large scale business parks. We think it's a really positive thing for our total business ecosystem environment. And so WeWork is a very significant tenant for us, still only about 2% of our overall portfolio,
okay.
But we see it as complementary, not competitive.
What about rentals, Mike? I'm going to go back to Abhishek for the final number crunching, but what about rentals? I mean, I did go through your numbers, and for some part of your portfolio, you have been able to increase your rentals by 15%. But is that across the board? I mean, just give us a sense of what is the power that you have today of being able to increase rents in the coming few quarters.
So the 15% that I think you're referring to relates to the contracted rental escalation that one generally has within the lease. And we've consistently been able to deliver 100% of those escalations as and when they come up. So that's nigh on guaranteed for us by past track record. We've also seen increases and spreads as we've taken on new leases that are in double digits. They do vary depending on the market. So some markets, a property will be over-rented. In a few markets, they'd be over-rented. In most of our markets, they'd be under-rented, and we get that uptick. But you will see significant variations in the pressure on rentals by markets. And I think particularly the Bangalore market has been very resilient because of the technology and GCC sector. And also, as we've often spoken about, the institutionalization of the base of owners who have the ability to take long-term views, long-term perspectives, and that's balanced off by the quality of the tenant base.
Okay.
But Abhishek will talk perhaps to the variations that you see on rental pressure in different markets, different buildings.
Abhishek, take it from there. I'm also looking at a very interesting data which came to you. Bengaluru, of course, lowest vacancy, so 91% plus occupancy, and you also have Bengaluru holding on to 29% of the office market of the country. And what I'm surprised to see is that you actually don't have NCR trailing it. You've got MMR, Hyderabad, doing much better than the National Capital Region, Pune following it, and then Chennai. So take it from here. Give me a sense of which are the markets which are resilient. Number two, where are we going to end in 2022? Is it going to be 50 million square feet, as Anshul says, that we are likely to get to? And what about rentals? Will everyone be able to increase it, or only few markets and few players?
All right, let's do the rental bit first, because I'll take it where Mike left. So in rents, I think the only place where I will differ with Mike is that let's not do it color at a city level, because each city will have its own one BKC, each city will have its own cyber city or an embassy manyata, right? I think the grade A plus assets, and Mike is going to love this, the grade A plus assets held by him and many other big corporate developers will continue to have single digit or even low single digit vacancies, right? The pressure will be more felt in the grade B buildings, where you'll be surprised that many tenants are now realize that, you know what, I'm getting grade A buildings at probably what I was paying in grade B, so why don't I upgrade myself, either in terms of location or in terms of the quality of the building. I remember attending in one of the big conferences and we were discussing about future-proofing your building. The future-proofing was not from a seismic perspective. It was from how do you make your building rental-proof or vacancy-proof so that you put in the daycare centers, the Starbucks and the cafes and all of these things so that your building becomes that much grade A. That was first. Second, Bangalore has been the uncrowned king for 20 years. I don't think it's going to be changing anytime soon the next 10 years. MMR tends to cater to IT and banking and it gives you a bit of a spread because of Navi Mumbai and Thane, which is why MMR has done well. NCR somehow has lost out, but I think it's going to be back very, very soon. So it's still in the third position. So yeah, I think these three cities command more than 60% of India in terms of demand.
And 2022? Offtake, final number before we wrap up?
So listen, 60 million in 19, 33 million in 2020, which was a truncated year. Anshul is right, 2021 was also reasonably truncated. That's at about 38 million. So I would be not surprised if we do anywhere between 38 to about, let's round it to 40 million for next year. Don't forget, supply is the joker in the hat here, right? And the supply for the year 2021 is only 27 million.
Okay. Supply is coming down, so that means that there is going to be a little bit of the pressure on occupiers to pay the price that the grade A developers are demanding. Gentlemen, I'm going to wrap out here, and of course for my audience, I'm going to also tell them what ICICI Securities is saying about Indian REITs, but thank you very much for joining me. And ICICI Securities' take is that all the three REITs have given very strong rental collections and very quickly expect 5 to 13% capital appreciation and 6 to 18% annual distribution yields, which means dividend distribution plus capital appreciation can offer cumulative potential returns of 13 to 19% on REITs, something that definitely looks positive after hearing all our experts on the show today.